This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 250 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. Pushing them cows. Please support our sponsors on this show because they make this podcast possible.
Our sponsors this week are the Kentucky Performance Products. You can find them at kppusa.com and Horse Quencher at horsequencher.com.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
I am Glenn the Geek.
And this is not Helena B. This is Coach Jen. And you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network.
Well, Helena's out again this week. She had to go this week on a field trip. She was a chaperone on a field trip for the school. So I don't know
all I can think of when I hear school trip chaperone is kids getting sick on the bus, kids screaming because they lost their lunch, or kids getting lost.
Yeah, or they don't show up to the bus. They get lost in the mix, and you're minus one kid when you want to head home. So yeah, all of that stuff. Yeah, so it's the end of school time, and Helena is doing her duties as a mom, and that's more important than being here. So we hope she has fun today, and she'll be back again next week. And I know I said that last week, but she really will be back next week, hopefully, unless
there's another field trip.
Got to be out soon.
Yeah.
They can't go to school all summer, can they?
Well, depending upon how bad your grades are.
Or how much snow they had. I don't know.
How much snow they had.
I know that schools in the South are out already, but the ones in the Northeast will be going in probably to August.
Yeah.
To make up for the winter they had up there. So we have thank you, Jennifer, for filling in again today. Jennifer, of course, from HorseTipDaily.com and producer of Horses in the Morning.
795 episodes.
Oh, you're going to be at 800 soon.
Woohoo!
Well, we have a couple of good guests, or we have a good guest lined up today. Mark Bador wrote an article called A Ride on the Wild Side. He got to go on a cattle drive, but not just any cattle drive, a long cattle drive, and he's going to talk about that and some of the other things that he's found in his experiences with dude ranches across the United States. So
thanks to Elite Equestrian Magazine.
We appreciate their help in getting that set up. So we're going to be chatting with him a little bit later in the show. Plus, we have a Tack and Habit segment for you as well. I first want to mention RidersForHelmets.com. They every year do a International Helmet Awareness Day, and that date has been announced now over the weekend. It's Saturday, June the 22nd. And what that means is that you'll be able to buy helmets at a discount on June the 22nd, online or in your local tack shops. A lot of them are participating. But she has a ton of companies that are participating in this year, and it's been very popular. I mean, they sell tens of thousands of helmets worldwide that day.
Now, is it a standardized discount throughout, or does each individual retailer choose their own?
What was that?
Do all the retailers have the same deal? In other words,
I think the deal was, I don't know to answer that question. So
go to ridersforhelmets.com and see.
Yeah, Riders for Helmets is going to have more information at ridersfor4helmets.com. But it's also an educational opportunity too, and they have a lot of videos on that site. And as I understand it, there's another message from Courtney King Dye on there, who was the one that really was inspirational for getting this started. In 2012, the International Helmet Awareness Day received support from 10 helmet manufacturers and 600 retailers in 4 countries, and I know that she's expecting a whole lot more than that this year. They have helmets that are going to be included in the Helmet Awareness Day: Sam Shield Champion, Gatehouse, Charles Owen, GPA, Antares, Tipperary, LAS, 1K Ovation. Good God, there's a lot of helmet companies. KEP, Troxel, and Aegis. Geez, there's a lot of helmet companies. I didn't realize
a lot more than there were half a dozen years ago.
Yeah, I didn't realize there were that many.
Yeah.
So, keep an eye on it. Check it out. Remember that your helmet is only good for 4 or 5 years, and then you need to replace it. There's no question about that. It doesn't matter the manufacturer. Helmets are good for 4 to 5 years, and that's because the foam inside of them biodegrade in the heat and become brittle and not as effective and will not save your head like you hope it would.
I got to go shopping.
Are you at that point?
Yeah, the helmet I have is, yes, it's expired. The little alarm is going off.
Uh-oh.
The
I
button
didn't know
popped
that.
out like a turkey.
We need to get you a new helmet.
So this is the perfect opportunity to go shopping.
That's right. Helmet Awareness Day. I think we bought one for someone. We bought a gift to one last year.
Yes, we did.
We went to the local tack shop.
We dragged a friend to a tack shop and said, "You will get a helmet today." And the retailer was not participating in Helmet Safety Day, our Helmet Awareness Day, and we didn't realize that until after we had made a choice. And when he said that, we said, "Well, we'll just go to the tack shop down the road and get our helmet." And he said, "Oh, no, I'll participate."
Yeah, that's true. All of a sudden, they were participating.
So the lesson there is, if your local retailer is not participating, put a little pressure on them. It's easy to do. All you do is sign up. It's not hard to participate.
Well, very good. So if your helmet's getting out of date or you just plain want a new one, and with all the cool styles out today and all the new looks, you just might want a new one. Just head on over there and take a gander at riders4helmets.com for all the details and all the retailers and things that are participating. And most of the big online retailers are participating as well. So
you bet. All the smart ones.
Yep. Well, before we get started with our first interview today of Mark Baddour, we are going to take a break for our Kentucky Performance Products Nutrition Minute, and then we'll be back with Mark. This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
If you've ever had a horse with diarrhea, you know what a frustrating problem it can be. Finding an ingredient that works to dry up the diarrhea becomes a high priority. It turns out that researchers have found one, a yeast called Saccharomyces boulardii. It has been proven to improve and halt episodes of diarrhea. It supplies specific nutrients to the lining of the small and large intestines, and these nutrients promote healing of irritated tissues. It also supports improved starch and sugar digestion in the small intestine, reducing the opportunity for imbalances to occur in the hindgut. Nalox Advanced, made by Kentucky Performance Products, contains Saccharomyces boulardii, along with a blend of fermentation solubles and stomach buffers. Nalox Advanced is recommended for horses of any age that are suffering from diarrhea. It also supports a healthy digestive tract in horses at risk for gastric or colonic ulcers, such as performance horses or any horse that is constantly on the go and exposed to stressful situations. For best results, Nalox Advanced should be fed on a daily basis.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com. Well, coming up next is our guest today, Mark Baddour. He is here, compliments of Elite Equestrian Magazine at eliteequestrian.us. He wrote an article for their latest issue called A Ride on the Wild Side. It's about the Burnt Well Cattle Drive in New Mexico that he was on. And he also has a book coming out about ranches that we're going to talk about. So let's talk to Mark. Well, hi, Mark, and welcome to the Stable Scoop Show. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Well, as I said in your intro, you are here because we have Elite Equestrian Magazine. We highlight them once a month here on the show and have a different author of a different article every month. And they asked us to contact you this month about an article that I read in the magazine. Jennifer and I both read it, called A Ride on the Wild Side, about the Burnt Well Cattle Drive in New Mexico. And you did the cattle drive thing, and we got to hear more about this because it's something I think every horse person says they want to do, and never get around to doing. So tell us about it. What was that like?
Well, everybody always asks me. I've been to quite a few dude ranches over the years, and everybody always goes. The thing they always ask me is it like the movie City Slickers? And I say, well, yeah, it kind of is, and especially this one, because this was quite a challenging adventure that we did, driving these cows up this mountain, cow-calf pairs, and the calves were pretty new babies, so they were really tough to move, and it was hot and rocky and challenging, but also really beautiful and really a genuine cowboy experience. I mean, this was not a made-up cattle drive. This was a cattle drive that the ranch actually had to do to get these cows from where they were to the pasture where they were going to spend the summer. So it was really a necessary task, and it was a group of people coming together from all over the country, kind of like the movie City Slickers, where we didn't know each other, and people with different riding abilities. But we all came together for this great adventure, and it really turned out to be an adventure, a challenge, but we all became fast friends in the process, and it just ended up being just one of those experiences that just stays with you for the rest of your life, and something I would highly recommend.
Well, if you're comparing it to City Slickers, of course I have to ask if Jack Palance showed up, if Curly was there.
Well, we didn't have Jack, but what we did have was the bucking horse on the first night of the cattle drive. When we first got there, we went and met our horses and got matched up and got in the saddle, and we went out for a little test ride. Well, when we were doing that, the ranch owner's horse started bucking for some unknown reason and bucked him off, and he broke his collarbone.
Oh!
Hey, caramba!
And that's the rancher. That gives you guys a lot of confidence going into your drive, doesn't it?
It was kind of a freak thing, but you know what? And it was an absolute freak thing because they have really good horses. And the last guy you would expect to come off the horse was the ranch owner.
Right.
But anyway, his wife saddled up. Patricia took over, and their phone just got flooded when fellow ranchers heard what happened. People were just calling to see how they could help, which is kind of a cowboy thing. Everybody sort of bands together when they hear somebody needs help. And so... Well, we didn't have Jack Palance, that kind of a character. We did have some unexpected adversity, which put a few wrinkles in it. But Patricia saddled up. Another guy named Dave, I believe his name was, a fellow rancher, came in and helped lead the drive, and it was exciting.
So, how many of you were there? How many guests were there?
I think there were about a dozen of us on that drive.
And
how many cows?
Let's see. We had close to 200 cows.
Holy smokes! I wasn't
most of
envisioning, a half a dozen.
Oh, no. It was a big deal.
Well, I was just going to say, you took them from one sort of ranch to another, and you went a long way, right?
We did go a long way. I think I just reread the story myself last night so I could brush up on it. I think we did, I think, the better part of 50 miles on that drive. It was over 4 days. And, cows don't move very quickly, and they don't move at all unless you're pushing them all the time. And when you're going up a mountain, it's not like the Tetons in Jackson. It wasn't that kind of a mountain, but it was some fairly significant inclines we went up, and it was rather warm, and it was a challenge to get them to move. And as soon as you quit pushing on them, they just stop and start eating. So it was some work, but it was also the kind of thing that a lot of people dream about doing. And I think the appeal of it is, you really are out in the great wide open West. We crossed these vast private ranches to get from where we were to where we were going. And these are private ranches that are like 50 square miles that nobody ever gets to go across. And we were escorted by the ranchers that own the property. So we got to see some places that the general public just is not allowed to go. So we saw some real beautiful country, and spending the whole day horseback out in the Great America West, and then meeting the ranchers who would escort us across their property. Got to talk with them and find out what their lives are like and the kind of issues that they deal with when it comes to running a real working cattle ranch. So it was a pretty cool deal.
So my Texas Instruments calculator tells me that you had 16.6 cows per cowboy. The lovely pictures that are in the article in Elite Equestrian show what look like Herefords. Is that what you were zhuzhing around out there were Hereford cattle?
I think so. Either Herefords or Black Angus, or maybe it was a mix of them. I'm not sure. I guess what I remember most about them is just that they were tough to move.
They were ornery.
Yeah, well, they'd rather just be left alone. I like most people, they'd rather just be left alone and eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah. That's actually a really good trait in a beef cow.
Yeah,
is that
you really want them to eat. Yeah.
Right.
The ones who like to gallop, generally, you don't want to pass on those genes.
Now,
right.
I was going to say, one of the things I read in your story is the one day you spent 12 hours in the saddle. Now, most of us take a trail ride for an hour or two. Some people, the professionals will ride many horses a day, but 12 straight hours in the saddle is tough. I mean, was that tough?
Well, it was tough. I ride a lot, so, but yeah, even if you ride a lot, 12 hours is a long day in the saddle, and that was a hot day, and some of the folks were not aware of how much water they were going to need, so a few people ran out. I did not, so I was able to share a little water I had, but, yeah, 12 hours is a long time to sit on a horse. When you go on one of these cattle drive experiences, it's really a cool thing to do, but by the end of the week, you realize why everybody switched to cars.
It sounds romantic.
Yeah, well, because the car, you don't have to catch the car, you don't have to saddle the car. If it gets a little hot, you can, there's no air conditioning button on that horse.
No.
That's funny.
So it sounded like you were roughing it a little bit. Did they give you the old-fashioned canvas tent that the cowboy really used, or did you have modern ones? Tell us how that worked out.
Yeah, we did have the canvas teepee tents that people used. Also, that part of New Mexico is really dry, so it's a pretty safe bet to be able to just sleep outside under the stars, which I did one night, which was pretty cool. They had some cots along, so you could set up a cot and.
You and the scorpions?
I was just going to say, you and the scorpions together out there. Yum.
Right, and the rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
We fortunately didn't see either of those. I remember watching the Rifleman episode one time where Chuck Connors had a rattlesnake crawl into his sleeping bag with him. And fortunately, nothing like that happened out there.
Well, that's good. Because I don't think we'd react the same way.
No, probably not. But anyway, when you're not used to living in that environment, but I don't want to scare anybody off. Despite the 12 hours and the challenge of moving the cows, and it got a little warm, but it's the kind of thing that just makes you feel alive, and it's just an experience. It's just living. It's to me, it's just kind of what life is all about. Just out on a horse, out in the Great West, and moving the cows, and then you get to know all these different people from all over the country that come to a deal like this, and everybody has all these interesting different backgrounds and experiences. There was a couple there from Boston. There was a prison guard there from the East Coast. Folks from Denver, and I'm from California.
You said too. You said in the article too. You had a lady who decided that being a senior, she didn't want to play shuffleboard anymore and wanted to do something a little more exciting. You had a senior there. What did you say? 73-year-old?
Yeah, she was in her 70s. She was a courageous woman, and she had not done a lot of riding. She'd done a little bit, and she actually, to be honest with you, just lasted the first day. But I got to give her credit for that because she was pretty fit for being a 70-plus person, but she wasn't really fit enough to do a 50-mile cattle drive. However, she did the entire first day and was thrilled that she did it, and then she helped out with the camp the rest of the time, and she said that was plenty of adventure for her. So, but there were other folks also there who were older, 60s, 70s, that did just fine. So I think a lot of it has to do with your physical conditioning, how much riding you've done, and that kind of thing. Because just because I've been on rides with guys that were 76 years old. I've been at cattle dude ranches where people have been riding when they were 80. So just because you're a certain number on the chart doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just a lot of it has to do with what your physical conditioning, your experience is. However, I got to give her credit because she was one courageous woman, and I remember talking to her on the trail, and I said, well, how's it going? And she said, well, I'm not too sure, but I always dreamed about doing this, and now I'm doing it. And I was just, yeah, right on. I thought that was great that she went out to live her dream.
Yeah. So are there age limits in that you have to be over age 18 or something to do this?
Well, I'm not sure about what the low end of the scale is. I imagine obviously it probably wouldn't take a 5-year-old long on a deal like that, but I imagine teenagers or whatever would probably be welcome. I think you just would have to call the ranch and find out what their limits are.
Each ranch would have a different policy. Yeah.
Well, they may have some insurance issues or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
So I got to thinking about this, and you said she helped out with the camp. Which of the two following scenarios did you have? Did you have a chuck wagon slogging along with the herd, or did you have the Ford F-250 food ferry show up every evening?
We had the food ferry.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we didn't have the chuck wagon. So instead of throwing our bedrolls in the chuck wagon, we threw them in the was it the horse trailer or the back of the pickup truck, or sleeping bags or whatever, and then they'd haul them off to the next spot, and then we'd all meet up. But we also had those old West amenities like cold beer at camp. So.
Yes.
I love chuck wagons. I have a fetish for chuck wagons, and they're coming back. They're a big thing now, and there were competitions, all kinds of different cooking competitions. Was the food good?
Food was great. Patricia had quite a crew of local folks that show up to help out on these cattle drives that the ranch does, and I can't remember what the particulars of the food. It's been a little bit, but I just do remember that it was great food and lots of it, and you eat a lot on these deals, but you always seem to burn every ounce of it off. So, some about 12 hours on a horse. There's a little bit of exercise.
Yeah, it kind of makes you hungry.
Right.
Well, now I wanted to just tell everybody that they can read the article and find out the rest of the details about your trip over at Elite Equestrian Magazine, and you can find that at eliteequestrian.us. Eliteequestrian.us. Get your subscription today. But you also, this wasn't the only, as you said, the only ranch experience you've had. You just came out with a book, and I'm looking about the details of it here on Amazon right now, called Great Ranches of Today's Wild West. Tell us about that.
Well, I've been writing about dude ranches, horseback trips, and basically all things Western for about the last 13 years. And my stories have been published in about 24 magazines. And I always wanted to do a book, and then I realized I had done a book because I'd done all these different stories on dude ranches. So I found a publisher in New York, and we put together this coffee table book called Great Ranches of Today's Wild West. And what it is 10 by 12 hardcover, profiling more than 20 dude ranches all over the West, everything from the real kind of roughing-it experience like this cattle drive was to kind of the high-end, sort of a little more cushy, comfortable kinds of dude ranches, and everything in between. And these ranches are from New Mexico to Canada, out to California, Utah, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado. So it's really a good overview of the kind of city slickers experiences that are out there, and hopefully people will pick up the book. And one of the things I try to emphasize is that this is stuff you can do. I mean, I don't care who you are, how old you are, what kind of shape you're in. There's a ranch out there. There's a city slicker kind of experience out there that you can do. And one of the things I try to encourage people, that kind of the message of these stories is to get people. It's great to read the story or to watch the movie, but to actually get out there and do it is kind of what it's all about. So, hopefully these stories motivate people to do that.
Well, I'm taking a look at some previews of the book here, and the pictures are great. Did you do the pictures?
I did do the pictures, yeah. And when you're out west, there a lot of those pictures I shot from the back of a horse. to, and especially like those cattle drive pictures. And when you're out in country like that, it's pretty hard to miss, because it's just, you know, every place you look is another picture. You know, it's just spectacular country. And then when you have horses and cowboys and cowgirls, it just makes for a great subject matter.
Well, I'll tell you, it looks fun. I can't wait to see the book. It looks terrific. And, of course, you know, you guys, too, you work with the Dude Ranchers Association. Is that an association that was started just to get exposure for these dude ranches, or why was that association started?
Well, they started back in 1926. The association started, I think, as it's a kind of a different business, because these ranches are all competitors. They're after the same vacation people, but they also help each other. It's sort of like the Code of the West, the cowboy ethic thing, where they have a lot in common, obviously. They're all ranchers, and they form this association to share ideas and talk about how to make the guest experience better, and they have common issues they deal with, like insurance policies, for example, and the Dude Ranchers Association also has an approved horse safety program where each ranch goes through a training program just to make sure that they're certified, so that people that are, you know, from back east or wherever can be confident that this is a ranch whose horse safety program has been certified, so they can have a lot of confidence when they go to these places.
Yeah, everybody wants an adventure. They don't want to die. That's
right.
Yeah.
We all want to be the one who decides when we get off the horse.
Exactly.
We don't want the horse deciding that for us. So, but that's one of the great things about dude ranches is it's the perfect place. I mean, we mentioned earlier about, you know, most people just go for a 2-hour trail ride. I always tell people that if you want to learn how to ride, if you've never been on a horse or have very limited experience, if you go to a dude ranch for a week, when you go home, you're going to know how to ride a horse. I mean, I've seen it happen a million times. People go to the ranch. Some people, you know, get dragged there by their families because they really aren't that crazy about the idea. But by the end of the week, they have to be dragged home because they don't want to leave. So,
well, and you spend 12 hours a day on a horse times 4 days. You've just put 3 months worth of riding lessons into 1 week.
Well, no, but I have to tell you though that this 12-hour deal on the horse, that was highly unusual. I mean, most of these ranches that you go to, you'll ride a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours in the afternoon, and even like an extreme ride is 6, maybe 8 hours. But you know, this 12-hour particular day on this cattle drive was a very unusual kind of an experience. So,
yeah.
So I wouldn't want to put in anybody's head that if you go to these places, you're going to be spending 12 hours on a horse. I mean, you're not going to do that. That was just a real unusual experience, which I didn't mind because I'm a rider, and you know, if you put me on a horse, I'm a happy guy, and I'll stay there all day if you make me. But I just reassure people that you can do as much or as little riding as you want to when you go to these places. Don't want to scare anybody off here.
I need to find the dude ranch with the chuck wagon, because that's the one I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to help do the cooking and be on the chuck wagon.
You just want to sit on your butt in the chuck wagon and cook.
Exactly, and I figured that I can eat all day while you're doing all the work. See, that's the other thing. Sure. Yeah, see, that's my idea.
That's one of the things the Dude Ranchers Association can do. I mean, if you call them and tell them, you know, I'm looking for a ranch where I can just do some really good eating, I probably could set you up with that.
I'm a driver. See, I drive horses, so that's cool. That's why the chuck wagon's kind of appealing to me.
That's great. Well, I bet there's one out there just for you.
I bet you there is too. Now, I wonder how many people that go to dude ranches. Well, I wonder what the percentages of horse people and non-horse people. You know, I wonder if there's more non-horse people or if it's the other way around.
Well, you know, when you talk to the ranchers, I think they get a lot of both, and I think that one of the things that horse people would be surprised about is the kind of good quality horses that these places do have for experienced riders. I've been on some really great horses at dude ranches, and at the same time, they have horses that you know, for people who've never been on one, and they have horses for little people and big people, and a lot of the places don't have weight limits and they really are in the business of accommodating, any kind of a rider. But again, the best thing to do is pick out the one you want to go and then call them and ask them about their riding program. But I think that even really good riders would be surprised at the really good horses that these ranches have. I mean, they're just they some of them will have told me that they get an increasing number of people that know what they're doing on a horse, and of course they want to be able to accommodate those folks. And even people that are riders that maybe have their own horse at home, it's kind of nice when somebody else does the saddling for a week and you don't have to worry about it.
That's true.
Somebody else does the stall cleaning. Somebody else does the grooming.
And the cooking.
Right.
Well, this has been great. Where can people find the book, Great Ranches of Today's Wild West?
Well, there's a couple places. Like you mentioned Amazon. It is on Amazon. They can also get it from me, and I'll sign one to them. I have a website. It's pretty easy to remember. todayswildwest.com. And if they get it from me, I'll send them a free copy of my music CD. I play a little guitar and made a CD a few years back. And so if they buy it from me, I'll give them a free copy of the CD.
Oh, cool. That's great. Well, could you send us one of the songs and we'll play today's show out with it?
Sure. I will do that.
Give them a little sample. That would be terrific.
Okay, great. Cool. I'll email it to you.
Yeah, definitely do that, and we'll play today's show out with it. That'll be fun.
All right, super.
Well, we appreciate you being on, and we thank Elite Equestrian for introducing us, and good luck with the book. And, I assume, is the next one going to be like the ranches of Spain and Portugal, or you...
The next one's going to be called Great Rides of Today's Wild West. There's a lot of rides in the West that aren't necessarily connected with a dude ranch, like the Billy the Kid ride in New Mexico. There's U.S. Cavalry School in Montana.
Oh, cool.
There's pack trips in Yellowstone you can take, and I've done a lot of that stuff too. So the next book's going to be about those kinds of things. And then I'm going to do a second ranch book as well. I guess some of the ranches I've been to that are not in the book yet have said you should call the next one Greater Ranches of Today's Wild West.
More great ranches. That's what it is.
Right.
That's funny. Well, very good. Thank you, Mark.
I'll email that music to you, and thanks for calling.
Well, thank you to Mark. That's something Jennifer and I have not done yet, but it is definitely on our bucket list.
Big time on the bucket list, yeah.
That's one of the things we want to get done in the near future is a trip to a dude ranch. Well, we have a very special guest coming up next week. Tell us about that.
Well, those of us who love horse movies and who doesn't, we have coming up next week a pre-recorded interview with a fine horse trainer who is originally from South Africa and these days lives in California. And if you saw Seabiscuit or Racing Stripes or Legends of Zorro or Cowboys and Aliens or Warhorse, then you've seen this man's work. His name is Bobby Lovegren, and he is a horse trainer and what they call in the movie business wrangler for the movie industry. And he was the lead horse trainer for the upcoming and soon to be blockbuster hit, The Lone Ranger, which we've been talking about nonstop for the past 6 months. And he spent a little bit of time with us last week, and we did an interview. And what a fascinating and interesting fellow he is.
And we'll have that for you next week. And I have to thank Jennifer because Jennifer worked long and hard through many, many layers of movie people to get this arranged. Thanks to Disney for helping to get
Everybody
it
has
put
people.
together, too. Yeah.
I was so excited because I'm on the Disney list now. Oh, my God.
You're in the Disney list of approved media outlets.
Well, we'll see because we went 2 minutes over on time, so
Yes.
they might blacklist us now.
But you did work hard, about 6 months to get that interview nailed down, and we did have a lot of fun with it, and you all get to hear that next week. Jamie from the Horses in the Morning Show and Jennifer and I got to.
And Jamie is on there, so it's a really good interview.
Yeah, Jamie knows her movies, and she knows her movie actors too.
Yes.
So, and she especially knows horse movies.
Yes.
So that was a whole lot of fun.
And we will find out which famous movie star was the most difficult to deal with when it came to horse wrangling. We will find out.
And that's all coming up next week. Well, it is time for Tack and Habit. And this Tack and Habit segment is sponsored by Horse Quencher. Is your horse not drinking enough? Whether it's from weather changes, minor illnesses, trailer and traveling stress, there are many reasons you'll have a horse refuse to drink sufficiently. Yet being fully hydrated is the first line of defense against minor issues becoming major. There is a product that helps even the pickiest of drinkers drink more, all-natural Horse Quencher. Listen to what four-in-hand champion Chester Weber has to say about it.
Since I was introduced to Horse Quencher, I've been wildly impressed with its ability to keep the horses in the water buckets drinking, and it's given me real peace of mind. One often doesn't know they need a product until they're introduced to it, and this was a product I didn't know I needed at all, but due to the traveling that we do, it's been really helpful. It's also been very helpful with horses that, are a little colicky or something like that. We'll always hang a bucket in their stall. They'll drink more, and their general health will just be better.
Take it from Chester Weber, Horse Quencher is the all-natural product you want to help your horses drink as much as they should. Find it at your local feed store or tack shop, or online at horsequencher.com. That's horsequencher.com. Well, Jennifer, you're bringing us the Tack and Habit product this week, and you've always since for the last 15 years been using synthetic saddles.
Yes,
but this is the first time in the last couple of months I can remember you using a synthetic bridle, and I asked you about that today. And I thought, well, let's get you on the air to talk about what the differences are and whether you like it's a Wintec synthetic bridle, right?
It's a Wintec synthetic bridle. Not all synthetic bridles are made the same. I will prerequisite the review with, I'm a leather snob. I would rather have no leather than crappy leather. And when I moved down here to Florida, I was forewarned, because my tack does not live in a hermetically sealed building, that everything would mold and I would get cranky about it. And I thought, no, I keep my tack clean. It won't mold, but I'm sorry. It would be perfectly clean leather tack. The next morning it's green and fuzzy. So that did start to drive me crazy after a while. So I had the opportunity to replace my strap goods, that would be my bridle, my breastplate, my girth, with synthetic Wintec products. And I'm very familiar with Wintec saddles and love them. They have a very good quality and they're very durable. So I thought, well, heck, let's give it a try. And I got strap goods that match my nifty Wintec 2000 saddle. And I'm pleasantly surprised. I really am. The fit of the bridle is very nice. Beaker has your typical short, fat quarter horse head. So when you buy a really cheap leather bridle, the parts have a tendency to not have the right ratio. One part will be too big and another part will be too small, which is a very common thing with a cheap leather bridle. This Wintec bridle,
in addition to smelling like camel pee.
Well, here's that too. That's separate. This Wintec bridle at the whopping price of $48.95. If I were to buy a leather bridle for that price, I would be getting something that was really appropriate for a dog chew toy. But I must say the fit is very nice. The brow band in particular can be a problem because he has a wide head, is long enough that it doesn't crinkle his ears and make him uncomfortable. The nose band fits around his fat nose, and it fits just perfectly. It's not too big or not too small. And I finally got it dirty enough to make it worthwhile to clean the other day. And it is as easy to clean as they claim. I just took a wet towel and went over it with a wet towel, and every speck of dirt came right off of it. Impressed. I really am. And it's much softer than I expected it to be. I thought the material they make it out of, which I'm not sure it's proprietary, so I don't know what you would call the strapping other than artificial leather.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's beta or if it's something else. It's much softer than I anticipated it would be, and it's got a nice soft feel to it. The edges aren't too sharp like some of them are.
And if you're 10 feet away, you can't tell it's...
No. And it's got good quality stainless steel fittings on it. It's not that nasty cheap stuff.
And the other thing, too, is does it have the padded noseband and brow bands? The
noseband and the brow band are what they would call, if you were to buy a leather bridle, padded. Yes, okay. But it's not big and fat and squishy padding. The padding is adds to the look of the bridle, but it doesn't make it squishy. Like if you were to buy they make it in a flash noseband or a regular noseband. The flash version, the padding, a lot of people like super fat padding because they crank the nosebands really, really tight. I don't think that would be a factor for the dropped noseband part of it, but it does make it look prettier. It kind of dresses it up a little bit.
Okay, cool.
And they are all of the Wintec bridles are sold without reins because then you can decide which kinds of reins you like, whether you like the laced style or if you want leather reins.
You're still using leather reins, right?
I still have my leather reins. I'm very much in love with them. I wasn't quite ready to go to synthetic reins yet, but once these ones kick off, which won't be too awfully long, I'm liable to give the synthetic reins a try. But for now, I'm very pleased with the durability. The fit is very good. As I said, the workmanship is nice, and the metal fittings are of good quality, so I'm not going to have rusty fittings, which is really irritating.
Now, do you find actually that the buckles are easier to do on the synthetic bridle or the leather bridle?
In my particular case, the buckles are just as easy to do as a leather bridle. If you're one of those people that either A, has a cheap, nasty leather bridle, or B, doesn't clean and condition their leather bridle very often, you will find that this is very easy to work with because unlike leather, if you don't do anything to it, it does not adversely affect its feel or its strength. Natural leather, if it's not cared for properly, will become dry, crusty, brittle, etc. This will not. You can just never clean it, and it just gets crusty and dirty, but it doesn't have an adverse effect on its ability to do its job.
So probably make a great everyday bridle for using every day, and keep the good one that you have for your shows.
Yes, for camps, for people with school horses, the students abuse the tack. For a spare in the bottom of your tack trunk, you go to a show, you have your nice show bridle. What happens when it gets shredded, it gets stolen, something like that? It's a good fitting bridle and a good quality bridle. So keeping it around as a spare, even for horse shows, I think is a good move.
Very good. That's the Wintec bridle, only $48.95. You can they come in pony, cob, and full sizes, and I think they come in black and brown.
Yes.
So we got that price off of equestriancollections.com. We'll put a link to that in our show notes at stablescoop.com under the Tack and Habit segment. Thank you once again, Jennifer, our product guru. We appreciate you doing that. And
my pleasure.
I noticed, too, that Helena had a little trip this past weekend. She went down to Virginia to do some fox hunting things, and I think she was dying to tell us all about it. So she'll be back next week to talk all about her fox hunting adventures. And I saw pictures of her in fancy hats at fancy places. So it should be a lot of fun to hear how that all went down in fox hunting country of Virginia.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. You can find all the show notes for today's show at stablescoop.com, where you can find links, photos, and more information about our guests. As always, we love your feedback. Please follow us on Facebook under Stable Scoop and Twitter at Horse Radio. Many thanks to our sponsors today, and they are Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com and Horse Quencher at horsequencher.com.
Love Horse Quencher.
Be sure to visit all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com, including Jennifer's Horse Tip Daily.
Woohoo!
And also Horses in the Morning that Jennifer and I do. You can join us mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern at horsesinthemorning.com. Well, that's it for this week, Jennifer.
And there will be plenty more next week.